or welcome back. Today we're doing the ultimate book recommendations tag.
The first question is a book that I will always recommend.
Okay. Fourth Wing. Always. Maybe not so much Iron Flame, but Fourth Wing. And then we also...
Tell them why.
Tell them why? I think Fourth Wing is a perfect starter book for people for fantasy. It has tropes in it, which a lot of people love tropes. Some people hate that this book's full of tropes, but it's also what makes it so enjoyable. Mm-hmm. It has fun characters, you know, you got the school rivalry, dragons, of course, a romance, enemies to lovers type. What else? I don't know.
Harry Potter vibe.
Very Harry Potter, Divergent. Like, if you liked Hunger Games dystopian stuff in like 2012 to 2014, then you'll love this, literally. And if you don't like that, then I wouldn't recommend it to you. But most people that want to get back into reading or anything,
this is a great starter.
This is such a good starter book. And then we also recommend this book to anyone that will listen, as does everybody.
We've talked about this many times on our channel. It's just a beautiful book. I just love everything that's in it.
Everything.
5 stars, 6 stars, 10, whatever. Whatever you want to rate it. Like, whatever is the most.
You have to get through this.
And I hate saying that. I hate being that person.
I like ACOTAR. Unpopular opinion. I like ACOTAR.
Anyway, I just think that this is an amazing book that if you really love fantasy romance, you know, everybody and their brother, it feels like I've read this, but it's such an amazing book. I love Reese so much. And I have a feeling that he's just the best in this book. Like, this is just like amazing. Chef's kiss. It's just literally like one of the best things, life-altering things I've ever read. And
this book would not have hit hard if you didn't read ACOTAR. Like, it would not have made the impact of what happens in this book so much better.
Yeah.
You need ACOTAR.
He's just, it's so good.
Yes.
I just love this book.
If you didn't have him to compare, like, you would just think, oh, that's normal. Like, okay. But
yeah, highly, highly recommend this book for anybody who loves fantasy romance. A book that I will recommend if I think we have similar tastes.
If we have similar tastes, I'll recommend ACOTAR. Like, if you liked the dystopian stuff and all that, you know, when you were younger, this. Or if you're, like, really into, I don't know, maybe just romance and you're, like, really into romance and you want to get into fantasy, that's what I would, like, skew you towards. But if you've already read that, then I would recommend One Dark Window because I think this is amazing. I think the world building in this is pretty good. It really does set an eerie, creepy scene. I love the characters in this book. I think it's so cool to have a monster inside your head, kind of like Venom. I think this is just so unique. So I would definitely recommend One Dark Window.
I said all the Shatter Me books, but if you have very similar tastes to me, you're obviously just going to love the dystopian vibe of this. But this book right here, Miss Ignite Me, beautiful, beautiful. Love Aaron Warner, we all do. He's just such a king. But, like, if you didn't have these two, like, leading up to it, you wouldn't have, like, been like, ah, so hard. Like, the thirsting after her in this book and in this book as well. But I love this. I just seriously love this series. It's so entertaining. And it's not very hard to read. What's the word? Like, her writing is very, they're very easy to read. They're very fun. So that's what I would say. If you have similar tastes to mine.
Next question is, a book that I love but wouldn't recommend.
I said the She's With Me series. I really liked this, but Emma trashed me in a video. So I don't want this to be like, oh my god. Like, if you read it off of my recommendation and you're like, ew, this sucks. I don't want you to think that. I thought it was a fun YA time.
All I said was, when did you read that? In middle school? I didn't say anything to trash her.
She trashed me. So, but they were like a fun little trilogy. I really liked the guy in it. So, and she's like in like the situation she's in, it's kind of interesting. Homegirl's a fighter. I'm like, not a fighter, but like a fighter. So, She's With Me. Stay With Me. Still With Me. So, if you, I don't know, I wouldn't recommend it anymore. So, but if you like YA, like
That's what it was. They were in high school or something. It's just very young adult.
Yeah, it's just a YA fun time.
So you wouldn't recommend it anymore?
Not as like my main, oh my god, I love that, I love that, I love that. But
You loved it at the time.
I did reread this stuff on my phone when it was on Wattpad every single day. So you tell me if that's important. You tell me.
You love it, but it's not something.
It's not something my number one to recommend. But if you do like YA stuff, I would say read this. It's interesting.
A book that I love that I wouldn't recommend is probably The Winter King by C.L. Wilson. I really liked the fantasy aspect of it. It did have some like trigger warning stuff in it that maybe is why I wouldn't recommend it as much. It was kind of not hard to follow, but it's definitely written differently from how books are written now. It just felt old, like...
Old Mr. Finch.
No, not old like that. It felt like you were reading Bridgerton or something, like kind of old English style writing. The characters took a while to really get to the place that I wanted them to get at. Sometimes problems in books are not handled very well, like miscommunication is handled with like sexual stuff, and that's
Ew!
Not the whole time, but for a while. And that's probably why I wouldn't recommend it. That's probably why I wouldn't recommend that, but I did really like that book.
A book that I didn't like but would recommend, I would say The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I thought it was very predictable. That's the word. I liked it. I thought, like, I annotated the whole time. I thought it was interesting. It's good for people who aren't, like, need something to get into with reading. And I thought it was a fun thriller book that, you know, like, if you haven't been reading in a while, like, this to pick back up. It's pretty short. You could finish it in, like, a day. You know, like, it's that kind of vibe. It's kind of like the random things that you see on Netflix and you're like, ooh, I wonder what happens. And it's like a popcorn thriller. And you watch the whole thing and you're like, did I feel satisfied? I guess. It's that vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
That's how I feel about this book. So, I would recommend it. It's not a bad book. It just was pretty predictable.
Right.
To me. And a lot of people in their reviews were saying that as well. So, I'm happy I'm not alone.
I would say Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I think that these books are fine. Like, they're fine. I think that they're getting a little too big for their own head kind of thing. I think Sarah J. Maas is becoming... People recommend her everywhere you look. I didn't really love Crescent City, the series. I think it was really hard to get into, really hard to understand.
People love it, though.
And people love this book. But I DNF'd it for so long, came back to it, finished it, binged it. But I wasn't satisfied by it. Like, by the time I got to the end, I thought that this was such a waste of pages for so long. I thought that the murder mystery in it was pretty weak. Like, not a very good whatever. And I thought the characters were very bland. I don't know. Then you read the second one and we're on the same kind of pattern of you ended the book on a high and you start the next book kind of back at a low. Like, I don't know. And you have to wait in all of her books for the last 200 pages, like everybody says, for stuff to really happen. So, I didn't really like it, but if you're in love with Sarah J. Maas and you love these kinds of books and you are obsessed with all of her series, then you'll probably love what's going on in this stuff. So I would recommend it for that, but I don't really love it.
A book I wish more people had recommended to me sooner. Well, the thing with me is on Book Talk, people recommend things out the wazoo. You know, I would say, like, I would have read Fourth Wing when it first came out if I listened. I would have read One Dark Window when it came out if I listened. But I don't like this. Yeah, I had it on my shelf for like 2 years. But I don't like disappointment. And people are very disappointing.
Things get overhyped.
Yeah. Or, I don't know. So, I just never listened. But if I did, I probably would have read these books sooner. But I did read The Love Hypothesis within the same week that it came out. So
for me, I just started reading Allie Hazelwood books in September of this year. Lily recommended it to me. And I'd heard about them on TikTok. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, they're romance. I'm in my fantasy era. But no, she was, like, getting me out of a book slump of... I had just reread Fourth Wing and ACOTAR series. And I just felt like nothing's working for me anymore. So she recommended Allie Hazelwood. There you go. And so I would say that these are the ones I would wish I had picked up sooner.
Look at the brain
right.
and the DNA and the heart.
Don't love this one. I thought that the story was okay, but the ending really pissed me off. These though, they're basically the same kind of book. Honestly, wait. Wait. She does write the same kind of stories, but hey, if it works, it works. If I hadn't read them all within like 3 days in a row, each day a different book, I probably wouldn't have been so sick of them. But I love her formula books. I love the STEM world. I just wish I'd read them sooner because I think she's a great writer. I wish I'd stopped with the fantasy and read them as they came out. So yeah, that's what I would say.
A book by an author that I will always recommend. We said Ali Hazelwood again because I just love her writing. She's really funny and the banter is really good. Usually I really love the guy character. I've only read one, so don't clock me. But I really loved the guy character. I loved Adam. He was just a vibe and he was a good guy. I'm sure I'll enjoy him too. I'm sure I'll enjoy, what's his name?
Jack.
Jack. I'm sure I'll enjoy Jack as well. Well, yeah. Just anything by Ali Hazelwood is really good. Except for Love on the Brain, according to Emma.
It's fine.
But it's nothing like these.
It's like them, but the guy is a freaking douchebag bully who I can't stand. I hate bully people. These guys are not bullies to her. They can be kind of stern and quiet, like the silent, yeah, very Mr. Darcy type kind of guy, if you know what I mean. That guy, you cannot be a bully and horrible to someone and come out and say you like them. I'm sorry.
I don't accept it.
I don't accept it.
Taboo.
And the way you were treating her at the
Taboo.
office at her new job, the things you were interfering with, ooh, I hated that. And then the ending was so stupid. So that book pissed me off. But these, I thought The Love Hypothesis was so good. I read this first, but I think this one honestly is better of a story. And it's not like a teacher-student romance kind of thing. This is more like colleagues. And I think that's awesome. And I think it touches on darker topics. Also like that. And her Check and Mate her Check and Mate book is really cute too. We don't have it on hand. I have it on the Kindle. But I think that's a cute story. I don't know how it's young adult. They're really blurring that line in all of these books now. It had sex in it. And so did One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crime. How are we doing this?
Number 7.
My question of the day is, in young adult books, before, you would get a kiss or a fade to black scene. We're not really fading to black anymore in these young adult books. So what is young adult?
You know what they're doing.
Tell me what the definition is.
They're not telling you that they're... But they'll like describe it and it's like...
Oh, no, they full on were doing it and checking it.
No. They'll have the scene. They just won't have them like... Have them be like, oh my god. And then
like full on, yeah.
Yeah. But they won't write that part, but they'll be like, oh my god, and then we just lay there. And I'm like... But you've described everything up until like you finishing with each other.
I don't know. So that's my question is... It's becoming like TV now. Like it used to be like just kissing on like TV 14, and then it became kind of full on sex scenes but no nudity. But then you click on a TV MA show and they would show nudity, but it's still sex either way. Like what's young adult?
But then like
that's my question.
They're acting.
What is YA?
A book. A book that I wish more people would recommend.
These books.
You need to just read this. Like if you haven't read it yet,
this book is so good.
This book is so good.
But this book, so much better. And it's hard to say because this book is really good.
And this has, I don't want to say given me a book slump. Like,
it's given me a book slump.
It just made me a sad slump. You know? It's just like...
Because it was so good.
Yes.
Don't make it like...
No, that's what I'm saying. Is that it made me so sad. I'm like... Dang, it's so good. So
it's so good. Read
more
these
recommendations for these books. People need to read this.
We read 1-star reviews of this book, and some of them said DNF for the 1 stars, and it was just because they thought it was boring. Did you think it was boring? No, I don't know. Maybe push through like the first 20%. I don't think it's that boring, but if you do, well, just get. I don't know. I don't think it's that boring.
It's more character driven. Is that why?
Maybe. Like, by chapter 5, she's already at the castle and stuff, and things have happened. So, if you find that boring, I'm sorry, but it's very good. I recommend this over and over.
I love this book. 5 star, 5 star, 5 star.
It really is. Such a good book.
A book that everyone recommended to me that I would recommend. I would say Throne of Glass. I don't think it's a bad series. I think people really love these character-driven fantasy books, which I think is really cool. I liked it enough. Like, I haven't finished it yet. I'm going to come back to it later. But I'm just holding up Throne of Glass because I want to hold up, like, everything.
All the books. But the Throne of Glass series.
But the Throne of Glass series, I would say, is a good series. But I don't think it needs to be as, like, oh my god, if you haven't read this, you haven't lived. Like, yeah, I think it's a pretty good series, you know, pretty standard YA series.
It's also becoming like a divided thing that I see on TikTok of
are you like, a Throne of Glass girl or an ACOTAR?
But people, if you're an ACOTAR person, like they're like, oh, her best series is Throne of Glass. Like, you haven't lived, breathed, died, whatever until you've read the series. I think it's just like,
and that's overhyping it. The type of genre that you like will depict which series I feel like you like more.
Yeah.
And for us, we like more romance, subplot fantasy, and that's why we like ACOTAR more. This is fantasy, subplot, character relationships.
I think it's more for me. I think it has to do more with the main character. The very, like, main girl character for me. And I find Selena to be, like, the really hard type, the really assassin-y, kind of, like, sarcasm dripping off everything she says every time. Kind of, like, tough girl, which I don't always resonate with. Whereas Feyre, I felt was, like, more soft-spoken, more, like, kind of shy, like, nervous. Like, still powerful, but, like, more secretive to herself. Things like that. So if you're really into, like, that powerful, talkative, you know, talk to anybody, show anybody up, you'll love Selena and all that. And if you like the more soft-spoken, kind of powerful within, you're going to like more of a Feyre type led story.
Yeah. But,
like, I think she borderlines on, like, Nesta energy. She's not mean, but she can be mean.
Anyway, I still would recommend this series. I don't think it's a bad series. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as other people have. And that's okay, you know, because other people think it's life-changing, and I just personally don't agree as much, but that's okay, you know. Right, so that's the one book I would still recommend.
I would recommend the Chestnut Spring series. It's really, like, overexposed, but The Flawless, Heartless, Hopeless, all of those books. I think that these are great. I think Flawless kind of takes a bit to get into what I like of the story, but once you meet everybody in this book, and you read the next book, and then the next book, and the next book, they're addicting. The world is addicting. The family, it's like a found family kind of thing, if you like found family. I love interconnected stories. I wish fantasy novels would do this. We were talking about this. Have, like, a little town or, like a kingdom or something where you meet the first main character and that guy and work on their story, and you learn, like, the court rules and all this stuff, and then move on to, like, the next character, but still have everybody around. Not like ACOTAR, where it's like a trilogy and then move on to, like, Nest. I'm talking like this. This is what I want, but fantasy driven, because I think it's so good. So yeah, I would recommend those.
A book that everybody recommends, but I would not recommend. I said the Natural series.
You read all the books too.
I read all the books. If you like mediocre if you like pretty mediocre characters and a mediocre plot, then here you go. I just think it wasn't for me. I know people really like the Criminal Minds aspect, like the case. It's just a little silly how, like, how old are they? 17, 18?
Teenagers.
Teenagers being profilers. I was just, and the whole time they're like, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like, girl, you could literally get in trouble with the law. Like,
but she was such a, I can do whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. I just thought, like, it was pretty mediocre. In my opinion, that's, like, some people love these books, and they're so entertaining. I didn't find them that entertaining. So, that's just a book I wouldn't recommend. If people are asking me, what do you recommend, this is not going to come to mind. So,
no.
Sorry.
I'm gonna not recommend two, and I've DNF'd both of these. So the first one would be Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is overhyped in my opinion. Like, she loves this book. People on TikTok are raving about it in love. And I was like, I've got to read this. Everyone in the world's talking about it. In this case, I found the dialogue to be so cringy. The main girl to be so cringy. And I think it borderlines on plagiarism of The Hunger Games. I felt like there were some sentences I could legit go pull out of that book and they were almost word for word. That was getting on my nerves. And so I finally got to like a breaking point at like 23% or something like that. And I was like, I can't read anymore. I just can't do it anymore. They're both so cringy. And I hated that we were having her scene of something and then it would go to his point of view and you have to now relive it from his scene, like working your way off, having the same dialogue, same scene. I'm like, why are we repeating so much? Move on. Like, I know what happened. I don't need to know what happened a little bit before that. It didn't add to the story. And then the other one I wouldn't recommend that I DNF'd is Serpent and the Wings of Night. Once again, same kind of thing. But except for that one, I thought it was well written. It was just kind of boring me. And it's overhyped in my opinion. People talk about, they compare it to ACOTAR, they compare it to The Hunger Game. I felt like the stakes were not high in that book enough. Like, how is she the only human in a vampire arena and nobody's killing her at night? Like the trials are going on for so long, but yet she had vampire friends dying. Why not you, girl? You're the human. Like, I don't understand it. It was just slow. And it was more of like a telling me what happened instead of showing me for a while. Like her bonding time with him, it was kind of alluded to. Like, for the last few weeks they've been doing this. I want to know what happened. How are we growing close? Show me some banter and stuff. So I DNF'd that at like 60-something%. I think one day I'll finish it, but it's just, I wouldn't recommend it the way people are.
Anyway, thank you for watching today's video. Happy Bookmas Day 22. It's so wild because I was showing Emma, or we were just looking through our playlist of all the Bookmas. And I didn't even feel like when we started, it felt so long ago. Also not. It's very weird.
Very strange.
That we've been doing this for literally 22 days straight. Isn't that weird?
I don't even think we had 22 videos uploaded before starting this.
Nope. And now
we're really building our video.
Belt.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for watching today's video.
Like,
comment,
subscribe,
and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.